Today I want to talk about trend changes, how I'm using trend changes to find my entries while trading futures, and this also can work with basically any stock. Now, the penny stock stuff is going to be a little bit more difficult, but for the overall market, if you're looking for mid caps, large caps, there's some serious action at these trend changes. And if you can identify when the trend is changing and look for that opportunity, you can find much safer entries. And that's the difference between gambling and day trading, is we're looking for opportunities that skew the odds. If it's a 50-50 chance that a stock is going to go higher or lower, what we want to do is change those percentages. We want to find an opportunity where we have a 80 to 90% chance that the stock is going to go lower. Remember, there's always going to be a chance that the stock's going to bounce, go higher, and you might get squeezed out, etc. But in general, we're looking for opportunities where we have a higher percentage to have a winning trade. And that's the big difference between just going out and gambling and actually trading and finding opportunities and having a process and having a actual strategy when it comes down to day trading. And I think this is probably one of the easier strategies. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to have patience and you need to wait for those opportunities. One thing that I've learned is that when these opportunities do arise, when you do see that beautiful trend change, when it's just like going up, 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 and then starts to curl and you see that opportunity, that's when you need to be able to execute the plan and have a strategy based around that trend changing. Now, another thing that I really like about this is it kind of just removes all of your bias. You know, you can trade this to the upside and the downside depending on the trend change. If we have a big move to the downside and the trend is changing back to the upside, you can jump in for a long, vice versa. So this kind of eliminates a lot of the emotion and a lot of the overall thought process when you're like, is this stock going to go higher? Is this stock going to go lower? We don't really care either way. What we care about is there a clear trend change. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of this in the video, so make sure you guys stay tuned.
All right, so today I want to talk about the trend change, how to enter the trade, how to exit the trade depending on the trend changing. Now, this can apply to futures. This can apply to stocks. This can apply to cryptocurrency. However you're trading, whatever you're trading, this idea of just looking for that trend change can really help bump up your profits. Now, let's talk about why this works and why it doesn't work in certain scenarios. This is a really good example this morning. All right, so this morning we had the breakdown. You can see here on this chart right now, we were above the EMA this morning. Boom, 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 boom. Above the EMA, we got consolidation. We broke down. I got short. We got to move down here to the 220 area. So we had a nice move down, and then guess what happened? We got a trend change. We broke out of this trend, and then we headed higher. Now, if you want to get real crazy here, you can draw a line if you guys can't see this trend, but look at that trend. Look at it. Would you just look at it? But that's why I'm using the EMA, just basically one line on the chart. I'm using the EMA. Once I see that, okay, we have this downward trend, we break to the upside here, right there. We break to the upside through that EMA, and then guess what? We now turn the EMA into support. We break here. We have a little bit of trouble for a second, and then we pull back. We bounce, and then we rally all the way up to here. So beautiful trend, beautiful trend, beautiful move. Now, what happens after that? You can see we did get a pullback. Now, I wouldn't call this an exact trend change just yet because we got that move to the upside. We pull back. We consolidated. Now, you might say, well, Patrick, how do I know if this is a trend change over this trend change and vice versa? Which is a good question. Now, this morning we had a pop to the upside, this trend going higher, higher. We consolidated. Why did I not short right here? You might ask. Okay, well, why didn't you go short right here? You could have easily just started shorting here because it broke through the EMA. But the reason I did not short right there is because I'm looking for confirmation that we are breaking the trend. And when I say confirmation, I want to basically see us break through here and then get stuck below that EMA. Now, you might ask again, what do you mean stuck below it? You can see we pull back right here. Look at this area where my mouse is. We push back through. So that's clearly saying that, hey, we're not confirmed that we are breaking down just yet. This could just be a little bit of a fake out and then we pop back up, which does happen. We consolidated. We then had a little bit of a support area. We'll say like this right here. See how this is kind of like consolidating there in this little channel right now? Okay, we're not making higher highs. We're making a lower high there after this high here. We're making a lower high here. And then guess what? We break to the downside. And once we broke below this kind of bounce area, this support area, that's when I got short. And you can see I got the move. But later on, we get that break to the upside. Again, where's my entry at? My entry's basically pushing through here and then looking for a bounce off of that support area. Again, breaking through there, turning that EMA into support, and then rallying. Again, looking here at this idea, we break through the EMA, we bounce back, we break back, we bounce back, and we're kind of just bouncing there. So you might say, well, where is my entry there on that point? At that point, my entry would have been, okay, I can see, okay, we're pulling here, we're bouncing here. We're pulling here. Okay, maybe this is my entry. Maybe this area is my entry, but what I want to see at this point is I want to see a move below these candles. I want to see us break below these candles here and then get stuck below the EMA. But we did not break below. We held that 232 area multiple times. Bam, bam, holding that 232 area. And then we push up and we start another trend. But we didn't get as big of a move. It's kind of consolidating, getting stuck there. So we kind of going into some volatility. I like to stay away from it when it's like this. If it's just kind of up, down, all around, just stay away from it. I think is the best idea. You know, there's no point in trying to pick the top or trying to pick the bottom. It's just kind of waiting for that next solid trend. So the big difference here for this plan or this overall idea is we had this nice trend from this bottom to that bottom, right? So we had this beautiful trend from here to here. Now, if we get a trend change, I'm expecting this to kind of do a considerable move to the downside. So it's a safer play. But if you see in this area, we're kind of just up, down, all around. It's not as easy to read. The trend isn't as clear because we're kind of bouncing, we're volatile, we're kind of all over the place. So I would not take any trades in this area because I don't have a clear edge there. I don't have a clear trend change. Although we are trending lower, I'm still not having like a clear trend. I'm kind of bouncing, and at any moment, this thing could just kind of rip back to the upside, which it ended up doing. And you can see kind of bouncing, ripping, bouncing, just all over the place. So no point in me trading this, right? So let's look for our next opportunity. Where would my next opportunity be? Still, same idea here. Let's say you do, okay, we have this trend here, it's a small trend. So I'm not expecting as a similar move. You know, we get a small trend on the upside, probably expecting a small trend back if we do pull back, not expecting just to sell off there as we kind of just volatile in this area. But let's look at this. Okay, we have a small trend on the upside. We break through the EMA. We pull down. So I could get short here in this area, and I would just put my stop. You know, every trade you go into, there's going to be an idea of getting stopped out. So same idea here. Look at this. Bam. I'm getting short in this area. My stop is obviously going to be at that point. We did get a move from 235 down there to 232. So that's still, you know, decent little move there. But again, not a beautiful trend because I didn't have that trend up. I didn't have that really solid trend to the upside here. So let's see if we can find another opportunity as this move happens. Again, it's still kind of just some indecision here. Again, not a solid trend through here. So not really looking at that one. But here we go. Now this could be an opportunity. We did get a downward trend there. We got the break through here. We pulled all the way down to here. So at that point, I'm looking at this like, all right, well, let's look at this. We got this trend going from here to here, sort of like that. I normally try to draw my trend line on like that, where we kind of get the breakthrough. So you can see kind of getting stuck. Now we're below that. We're below that EMA the whole time. We move from 238 down there to 231, still a 7-handle move. But guess what happens? We get that break out of the trend. And you might say, well, where's my entry going to be on this move? My entry would be, again, for that break through the EMA. the pullback. Look at this. Beautiful little pullback right here. Back to the EMA. We got a little bit of a fake out there at that 235 area, right through here. We'll say like this. Entries basically breaking through there. And looking to get long off the balance of the EMA. Where's my stop going to be? If I'm getting in there at the 235, 234 area, my stop's going to be basically down here at 233, hoping that trend is going to hold, in which it did from 234 up there now to 244, 245. So beautiful trend here, beautiful trend, breaking up to the upside there. Now, if I pull this up on a 5-minute chart, it's going to look a little bit different. This is going to be a good indicator. What I also like to see is I like to kind of look for some correlation. I want to see my 5-minute trend and my tick chart trend looking similar. Where this morning, my entry on the 5-minute, we broke below the EMA, correct? Right? We break below the EMA here, we pull back. That was my entry there on the tick chart, but you can see how it looked on the 5-minute chart. Now, if you look here on the 5-minute chart, we've got a beautiful trend going from that 234 area up there to 244 now. So big move on the 5-minute chart. That move looking very similar on the 1,000 tick chart here from that 234 area now up there to 245. So you might ask yourself again, well, does this only work for futures? Guess what? It works for futures and for stocks. So we look here at a stock chart. Ooh, my head's really big. Let's look here at Yuma this morning. All right, so Yuma on the 5-minute chart this morning had a big gap up to the 570 area. We get stuck at 570. You can see the trend above the EMA, We consolidated there at the 5s, back where the EMAs were, back where everything was going on, the VWAP, the EMA, everything's right there at that $5 area. The trend was up, and it pulls back, we consolidate. If this thing was bullish and it wanted to head higher, we should have held $5 and pushed off of that EMA and made the move higher. But instead, we broke below the EMAs, we pull back, and then we get stuck below the EMAs, and you can see how the trend has changed, and now it's down there to 417. So again, this can apply to both stocks and futures. EROS, look at this one. No real trend change here, but we are trending higher. So let's say, where would I want to enter? That's always people want to say. They want to say, where would I enter on this trade? If I'm looking at EROS, it goes from 334 to 350. Let's just say I didn't get in here. I didn't really find it until later on in the day. Okay, well, guess what? It's bam, green. And guess what? Look at this. We make a big move to the upside, we consolidate, we push off of the EMA, we make another big move. We push up, we consolidate, we push off the EMA right here, little move, and then big move. So, same idea. We're above the trend, we're making moves to the upside. Do I want to be buying EROS right here at the 384 area? Probably not, because you can see we're kind of losing some of that trend there. We are still looking like we might push them here, but I think this really would have been the move. Buying here at the 370 area, looking for that push above $4, or if you're really early, could have got in down here. But again, I'm using the EMAs as a trend indicator. Remember, these EMAs are lagging. These EMAs aren't going to tell you which way the stock is heading. They're just going to show you the trend. I'm looking at the EMAs as a trend. That's all I'm using it for. I'm not sitting there going, well, the EMA is pointing up, so it must want to go higher. The EMA's looking like it's green. It wants to go higher, but the color's already green. You got to understand, at the end of the day, looking for these trends, it's going to make it much easier for looking for opportunities. So if you're trying to short here at EROS, let's say you shorted here in this area, and you're like, well, we're pulling back here. We're pulling back. Guess what? Bam. Bounces off the EMAs. You just got squeezed, and that's not what we want to do. So very simple. This is probably the most simple idea of day trading. Just removing all the indicators, removing all the ideas, all the things that you've heard, and all the secrets that people teach. At the end of the day, we're looking for trends, and I really am looking for a trend change. Because you might say, well, why do I want a trend change? Why is a trend change so important? Very simple. The trend change is going to show us where that new trend is starting. And if I'm able to capitalize off that and identify that trend change at the proper time, I can really capitalize off those moves. It's going to be much safer. Here's a good example. Back to the futures, just because I got it pulled up and it's easier to look at in this form. If I'm trying to get long here, let's say I just really want to get long on the ES, right? I'm like, I want to buy this thing. I want to hold it. And I've been looking here all day. And I'm like, okay, we're trending lower. We're trending lower. What? We got a trend change. Something's happening here. We're trending. The change is trending. Trending change. The trend is changing. And I see here, 234, we're breaking through there. We're holding support. We're showing that we want to go higher. This is a much safer entry. This is much safer than me buying up here. You know, this is a much safer entry because the same thing is like from here. If I'm trying to get long here and I want to buy, I end up buying up here. Look at that. It changes the trend. Obviously, every trend can change, you know, out of nowhere. But in general, if I'm able to identify the trend change at a proper time, you know, at a safe time, and I'm able to see that trend change, I can really capitalize off that move. From here, from 234 up there to 245, that's a 10-handle move. With one contract, that's $500 in profit. So you can see how profitable it can be just by looking for these trend changes and then jumping in at that moment instead of waiting for the trend to be like, okay, I'm going to wait. Okay, I'm finally going to buy. You made some money on the way up here, but it would have been much safer to buy here at the bottom of the trend once that trend had changed. So there it is, the trend change, the changing trend. Looking for trends. Why am I looking for those changes and where am I looking for them? Sharing with you guys my overall thought process and everything that kind of goes on with this day trading journey. These are things that I did not know when I first started trading. Trust me, I had no idea. So there it is. If you guys haven't already, do me one big favor. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. I will talk to you guys later on.